In this video, I'll show you how to easily color buttercream using principles of color theory and, surprisingly, the color wheel. The color wheel is a useful tool in the study of fine art and graphic design. But did you know that it can also help you achieve the perfect icing color as well? You can create beautiful colored icing just like this using simple color theory. Be sure to stay to the end where I'll be sharing a bonus tip. So let's get into it. Let's start from the beginning before we even separate our icing for coloring. This is the color wheel, and it all starts with the primary colors, which are yellow, red, and blue. No other colors can be combined to create red, yellow, and blue, hence the term primary. We're going to color our icing with gel food color, which can be found in most grocery stores or craft stores with a cake decorating section. Remember, you never want to use liquid food coloring in your icing, as it will loosen the thickness of your icing. Powdered food color like this one and oil-based food color are appropriate alternatives to gel food color. This box of gel paste color comes with the primary colors in addition to green. For this video, I'll be using the primary colors red, blue, and yellow, in addition to white icing color and black icing color. I'll start with adding 2 drops of each primary color to some buttercream icing. First, I stir the red to see the result. Right now, it looks very pink, which, like all pastel colors, is visually pleasing on buttercream cakes, cupcakes, or cookies. Let's try to make it darker with 2 more drops of red. It deepens the color a bit, but it still reads more of a dark pink instead of red. We'll come back to this one later. Next, we'll stir the yellow. Same result, a very soft yellow. And now the blue. Again, very soft. Here are our primary colors, the pastel version of course. Let's try making the yellow and blue brighter by gradually adding more drops of gel food color. As the colored icing sits, it will automatically become slightly darker. Achieving the perfect red without overcoloring the icing requires a bit more work. I separate some of our pink icing into another container and add more red gel to it. The result is very minimal. To deepen the icing color, I microwave the other container of icing for about 8 seconds. Here you can see more of a difference with the microwaved icing on the right being a few shades darker. Now I add a couple more drops of red to darken the icing more. Though there's a slight difference, this icing is still very pink. When I combine the warmer, slightly melted icing with the original color, the consistency of the icing thickens, but the icing still isn't red. Now's the time to use a more concentrated red gel. Here I have Super Red by Chef Master. By gradually adding drops of Super Red, we're able to achieve a nice deep red. Be careful not to overcolor your red and cause your icing to have a bitter taste. Make sure to taste your red icing occasionally. Here's a before and after of our red. And here are our brighter primary icing colors. Next, we're going to explore secondary colors, which are orange, purple, and green. These colors are created by mixing the primary colors. Red and yellow create orange. Now let's see them combined. Again, very soft orange to start. Let's add more yellow and try one large drop of super red instead. If the orange is too red and you want to make the orange more of a yellow hue, just add a couple more drops of yellow like this. It works in the other direction as well. If the resulting orange icing is too yellow, add one drop of red at a time to achieve the desired orange hue. And here is our orange icing. Now let's make green by mixing yellow and blue. When mixing colors, make sure to mix the buttercream completely until there are no streaks of a single color left. And here's our green. Remember that tube of green gel color that was included with the box of 3 primary gel colors? Let's mix it up and compare it to the green that we just created. Pastel again. Let's add more green. Now let's compare. The tube green is on the left and our custom green made using yellow and blue is on the right. It has a lot more of a blue tone to it. Let's combine red and blue to make purple. Here's our final purple. I made all 6 of these colors by combining red, yellow, and blue gel coloring, and you can too. Now let's talk about making their icing color lighter. This is done in a couple of ways. First, you can start by adding more white icing to the current color like this. To lighten it more, simply add more white icing. Now let's compare the original color and the lightened color. The second method is to add white icing color to your icing to make it lighter. Doing so brightens the icing, but adding white icing appears to be a more effective method for lightening your icing. process for making icing colors darker is quite simple. Let's add a very small amount of black gel color to the icing to see what we get. It neutralizes the brightness of the orange icing, making it more of a subdued hue. Now, what happens if we add a larger drop of black icing? Now the icing looks more like clay. Here's what a darkened green icing would look like. Let's explore how to neutralize colors, starting with red. I'll add a couple of drops of green. Red and green are directly across from each other on the color wheel and are referred to as complementary colors. Yellow and purple are complementary colors. Orange and blue are also complementary colors. When viewed together, these colors appear more intense. But when combined, these colors neutralize each other into a gray and a more subdued shade. Let's watch the red icing change. Here's a comparison of the red we started with and the neutralized red. You can neutralize any color by adding a couple of drops of its complementary color. Let's talk about achieving the perfect gray. Contrary to belief, it's not as easy as adding a little bit of black color to white icing. And here's what I mean. As I stir, you can see the gray, but it has a purplish tone to it. And it appears more pale violet than a nice gray. This is not what we want. To neutralize the purple tone, we're going to revisit the color wheel and add a bit of purple's complementary color, which is yellow. After mixing in the yellow completely, I achieve a much truer gray. I'm going to lighten this a bit by adding some white icing. And here's the comparison. Now here's our gray next to the white so that you can see the difference. Next, let's explore dark colors, specifically black. As before, we start with a few drops of black gel and stir it up. We end up with this dark gray. Let's try the microwave trick to see how dark we can get this black icing without overcoloring and causing the icing to taste bitter. After 8 seconds in the microwave, I pour the melted black buttercream over the original black buttercream. We can see that it is already much darker than what we started with. And here's the comparison. Remember, colored icing will darken as it sits. So I'm going to let this buttercream develop a bit by covering the container with plastic wrap and allowing it to rest for a few hours. If you stayed to this point, thanks so much. I have a bonus tip to share with you about custom coloring your icing. You never want to try to eyeball a color by looking at a computer or phone screen. If at all possible, try to get a physical sample of the color that you're attempting to match. I want to match the light blue color on this coffee mug, and I'm starting by having the mug next to me for reference. I'm using a small amount of oil-based color to start. It didn't have the effect I was hoping for, so I'm adding more color. Now I've added too much color, but I'm not going to worry. Instead, I add a few drops of white coloring to lighten it. And then I add a little more white coloring. Now my color is spot on. Who knew that a color wheel could be so helpful along your journey into cake decorating? If you want to learn more about cake decorating, subscribe to my channel. Be sure to hit the like button if you learned something new and you found this video to be helpful. A special shout out to all of my channel members. As always, thanks for watching.